Welcome back, guys. Happy New Year. Okay, we are going to be looking at your 2021 report via your zodiac sign to see what can be coming up, warning dates, transformations, the unexpected, and the beautiful growth within the domain of both Saturn and Jupiter with that conjunction that just did transpire on the 21st of December 2020. Now, Saturn transited into Aquarius on the 17th of January, and the conjunction point, as I mentioned, occurred on the 21st of December at 0 degrees Aquarius. Now, Saturn spent approximately 2.5 years in Capricorn, and we did previously have the nodes in both Cancer and Capricorn. And I am seeing towards the end of 2020, with the full moon in Cancer and the heavy Capricorn placements in January, these themes are bouncing off in a karmic test to get that foundation right, to really get that accountability there so that all that we've learned we can apply it in this given situation within the age of Aquarius to get the best out of that astrology. Saturn connects to rules, discipline, responsibility, maturity, structure, challenges, restriction, enduring, death, the unknown, and endings. But it's really like a quality system to make sure that we're ticking all those boxes, learning those lessons, taking that direct accountability. And it's almost like the harsh karmic energy, but there's benefits in that. It's the lessons like a teach they teach us to really put that best foot forward, that if we do such with Jupiter, we can get the very best out of those placements. They can link to rights and responsibilities, obligations, false sense of freedom, and self-management. But it's really that self-mastery that it's going to teach us. And especially when it does go retrograde this year, it's a time to reflect upon what we've learned, what we've implemented, and as it goes direct to then make those changes. Theoretically, Saturn is at home in Aquarius. It's its natal ruler. Now, as I mentioned, Aquarius feels quite at home with Saturn. We also have the subcategory of Uranus being linked to it. That connects to the 12th house. So we have both the axis of the 11th and the 12th house themes coming through. Subject matters linking to Uranus and Taurus this year will be coming up because we have three squaring aspects. We also have at the beginning of January, Uranus and Taurus going stationary direct on the 1st and direct by the 14th. So sudden changes in those areas can be coming up in a very unexpected way. Aquarius really is the humanitarian of the zodiac sign, wanting to make the world better, looking at those social institutions that aren't working, transforming them, changing them up. The mantra is I know, and the tarot card is really linked to, with Aquarius, the star card in the tarot. The great connection of time. Saturn requires us to utilize that energy effectively, merge with that 11th house placement with where it's falling in your birth chart, which I will discuss in this video, to get the best out of the situation. And the yin yang, the push-pull energy that will be coming up is Uranus and Taurus making squaring aspects to Saturn in Aquarius. So what themes can we have coming up with Saturn in Aquarius? Definitely the energy of responsibility and accountability, and it can be very karmic if we do not follow suit with it. Now, with Uranus and Taurus, it can cause nervous energy, especially when it relates to anything of the tactile, financial related dynamics. And again, it will very much depend upon where it's situated in your chart, which I will mention. So with that, both with the 11th and the 12th house, this push-pull psychology surrounding the situations you're doing, it can be quite a burden. So having to really self-master, having to be extremely organised, and it's almost like, okay, we can see the blessings with Jupiter and Saturn being directly linked together, but what we're going to do to make those things happen, but not biting off more than we can chew, burning that midnight hour, so to speak, waking up at the crack of dawn to make that hope and dream come true. Really taking the direct steps of accountability with Saturn. And yes, with the sudden changes, it's almost the intuitive side. The house of our hidden enemies is going to be our psychology, really. What potentially could we expect? We could expect very much philosophies to come up, humanitarianism, scientific revolution, music, dance, arts, group activities, more conducive relationships. There can be this notion coming up in 2021 and beyond where we have tribe and pack mentality. So initially we will need to adjust to the energy of Aquarius. If you do study zodiac signs, Aquarius, when they're born and they're growing into that energy, initially do feel like the black sheep of the family. They have very, very firm ideals. They really do fight for the underdog. So, initially it can feel like they're on the outside with those burdens and responsibilities. As we move into this, a lot of us can embody some of that frequency, and it can feel very foreign and alienating initially. But again, with the psychology of the 12th house, we do need to really have a goal in mind. That can be for the bigger picture, where we are learning to have alliances, learning to work together. And it can be due to circumstances that do happen in our own lives personally, or on a wider scale, a global situation that is pulling us together to make us directly work with each other. The old theme of there's no I in team. So, yes, initially pack mentality can come through, but then understanding that for survival will be there's no I in team, and really being open to that transformation. So I do see a lot of alliances. I do see a lot of people bridging gaps, finding unique ways to work with each other. This can be in collaborations. It can be to do with wider group situations. However it's going to play out, it's almost like we're in the Middle Ages moving to the modern ages. So we're the paved way in this point in time where, yes, in astrology, some do deem this as the recession, but there's the separate energy of the steps that we're taking to move out of this. There can be beautiful aspects. With Jupiter mid-year, it is moving and retrograding back into Pisces. Again, it will be very Uranian energy. Our psychology, time to reflect upon that. With our growth, are we on point? Do we need to look at something differently? Are we getting stuck in our heads? Are we putting our actual action and best foot forward? That will be the time that for a lot of us, it can be a little bit testing, but it's deeply informative also because we will have the time to assess such. So before I mention how this will affect your zodiac sign, I will mention the key dates that we need to mark on a calendar. And that is for Saturn and Aquarius will be direct between the 1st of January through to May the 23rd. By that point, all of your actions, especially when it does link to Jupiter, and I will mention Jupiter dates as well, we will have approximately 6 months really to get buckle down and get these things done. So I really did say, moving into January, it will be really hit the ground running to monopolize upon the Saturn-Jupiter energy to get the best out of your chart. Now, it will be going retrograde from May the 23rd, and it is at 13 degrees Aquarius, and it will stay retrograde until October the 11th. So you can find frustrations and reflection upon that accountability from a karmic point of view around that time, and then applying the changes as it goes direct from October the 11th at 6 degrees until January 2022. That will be at 11 degrees. Hi, beautiful Capricorns. Now, yes, you have in years gone by with the nodes having been in previously to last year. They were both in Cancer and Capricorn, and it will feel a little bit like Groundhog Day initially, and that's due to the fact at the end of 2020 we had a full moon in Cancer, as well as we have a lot of Capricorn energy bouncing off in January. That can feel a little bit like Groundhog Day. Now, this is your very first house placement, and although we have both Saturn and Jupiter having transited into Aquarius, which is linked to your second house placement, there can be themes that you can utilize from previous years to apply an accountable setting to transform your second house placement. Now, what does second house placement entail? It can be your income. It can be your professional resources, how you're making it, what you're doing. Saturn will ask you to stick to a structured guideline when it does come to global situations that are happening. It can also be in the way that you are leading your career sector, can be dealing with individuals, bringing things together. Initially, because we will have Mars transiting in the first week, it can feel a little bit testing, especially because we are moving towards new moon in Capricorn. So it will give you an opportunity within yourself, within the way you're showing up in the world, to turn over that new leaf. Now, we will have different planets transiting Capricorn, so you will have a lot going on at the beginning of the year. Mars can amplify those areas. It will still be in Aries until the 6th of January, where it then does transit into Taurus. So let's have a quick look at the chart for you, because we do have Uranus in Taurus making squares this year, and it is occurring 3 times. It does link to your creative endeavors, you know, your happiness, your bliss, the things that make you happy, having the luxuries. It can be creative projects or children or romance. So a lot more energy will be focused in those domains, but very much between the 1st and the 14th, as Uranus and Taurus go stationary direct, there can be sudden changes really linking to that domain. The tension point will come from home-related dynamics, your psychology, potentially if you're working from home. And again, with Aquarius being in your second house placement, it's your self-confidence. It can be, especially keep an eye on your nervous system moving into the beginning of the year. You know, wind down, have the time, prior to moving into this. However, most of us won't have that ability. You will be able to develop your professional resources, your land, your material value, your alliances. So networking is very positive in the first 2 weeks, because further we will have Mercury going retrograde, and that's more towards mid-month January. Now, Saturn in Aquarius transit dates before we move on to Jupiter. We are having Saturn in Aquarius direct from the 1st of January till May the 23rd, where it will go stationary retrograde on May the 23rd at 13 degrees Aquarius through till October the 11th at 6 degrees Aquarius. Now, the direct motion of this will be from October the 11th at 6 degrees through to January 2022 at 11 degrees. Okay, as for Jupiter, now I'm really looking at the charts, and with these placements, we did have, as I mentioned, the conjunction point with Saturn and Jupiter, and that was on the 21st in December 2020. Now, what we have moving forward are some beautiful aspects, but we really need to monopolize upon it, and this is going to take a great deal of accountability with that vision. So with Jupiter, it's showing the vision, it's giving us the energy, it's giving us the opportunities, but we will need to take direct accountability. And we do have a window pocket. Now, in the initial stages, moving into 2021, we have most of the planets direct. We have Uranus and Taurus going stationary direct by the 1st and out of shadow by the 14th. So with Jupiter and Saturn, we have until about the end of January. And then even by mid-January, we're going to be in shadow stage of Mercury going retrograde, and it will be in the house of Aquarius. So it will both link to these big boys in the sky and reflecting upon what all this energy means between Saturn and Jupiter and what we're going to do with it, what some of these themes are. And very much, as I mentioned before, with Aquarius, it can feel like the black sheep of the family. It can be pack and tribe mentality. It's wanting to have this innovation and change, and it's all for the people, but sometimes we can feel like the odd one out. So adjusting to this can take a little bit of time, so it's perfect that we will be having a Mercury retrograde going into shadow by about mid-January and then retrograde by the end of January. So moving into 2021, a bit of reflection on all the placements we hold within our zodiac signs where Aquarius lands, which I have mentioned and I'll continue to. How it's going to affect us, tuning into it. Now, contracts, signing of anything, there can be complications. There can also be additional information coming towards you, especially when it does come to group endeavors and growth. It can be not the best time to launch projects. Far better to, if you are going to launch anything relating to Aquarius, with both Saturn and Jupiter in those placements, better to wait till after Mercury direct. Okay, so the must-know dates with Jupiter. Jupiter is making 2 transitional points. One, it will be in Aquarius until June 20th, where it does move into Pisces, and we will get a very different energy. And around these dates, it's very important to pay attention to what some of these themes are, because Jupiter will be entering Aquarius again towards the 1st of January, which can be taking on those themes, and it will be at 0 degrees. So initially, we will have Jupiter direct from January the 1st at 2 degrees Aquarius until June the 20th. Now, it's pretty much a month after Saturn would have already been well and truly retrograde. We still have Jupiter direct, so it will land on June the 20th. Then with the retrograde, it's retrograde between the 20th of June at 2 degrees Pisces. Keep an eye on those dates. Till October the 18th at 22 degrees Aquarius. Now, as it moves direct on October the 18th, it will be in Aquarius until the end of the year, where it will yet again enter. So we have the retrograde point at the middle of the year. As I mentioned, pay attention to those dates, and that should hold you through. Now, we'll talk about how it's going to link to your zodiac sign, what these themes can be. Okay, Capricorn, Aquarius is transiting your second house, and that's both within Saturn and Jupiter. And you have between January 2021 and June 20th, where it will then transit and retrograde back into Pisces. So for you, this will be your third house placement. It's also going to give you a bird's eye view into 2022 and some of those themes that are going to occur when Jupiter transits into Pisces again. So with this retrograde, it is between June the 20th at 2 degrees Pisces, where it does then move direct in October on the 18th at the critical degrees, 22 degrees Aquarius. So it's going to go from your third house back into your second house. Now, your second house can link to your income. It can be your net worth. It can be growing those values. We do also, which I'm going to mention next, is going to be Uranus and Taurus and how that's going to affect you with these placements. And they can be very sudden changes with Uranus and Taurus. Now, Pisces will also hyperlink into, during that time, of Neptune in Pisces, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, where you potentially could be delusional, needing to change things about to get it into alignment. So it's a very useful time frame for you guys in particularly to have a look at that place of the second house when it comes to networking, your professional resources, your net worth, your alliances, your ability to follow through. Double checking it during that retrograde and seeing, okay, if that's so, and we're moving towards those hopes, dreams, and goals, where will we be and what do we need to shift in order to make that happen for next year? And this whole year is setting us up for the next 20 years. So it is very important we follow through with these things. Let's have a look at Uranus and Taurus. Now, it will be stationary shadow by the 1st of January 2021 at 6 degrees Taurus. It then will be direct by the 14th of January at 6 degrees Taurus. Now, the direct motion will be pretty much from January 14th through to August the 20th, where it will be at 14 degrees Taurus. So we have that pocket between January and August where we can have that direct movement with anything that we've reflected upon, all those changes that may have occurred. And the changes can be coming up in the first 2 weeks of January. And although we do have 3 squaring aspects this year with Saturn and Uranus and Taurus, I am feeling, although major astrologers are discussing the fact that we're going to have 3 major shifts when it does come to Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius, I really do feel the beginning of the year is going to give us this theme of what potentially can come through. And I will discuss dates very much linking into these energies, during the year and, throughout. So the retrograde, the next retrograde cycle is between August the 20th at 14 degrees Taurus and January the 1st at 10 degrees Taurus 2022. Now, the first point of the squaring aspect that we are experiencing will be February the 17th. Now, with that, we will already have Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. It would, by mid-January, we will be having those shadow aspects plus Uranus and Taurus is in shadow cycle. So it can be, again, pretty much anywhere from the 1st till the 14th and the 17th, there can be sudden changes and difficulties when it does come to Aquarius and Taurus placements. Now, the second part of Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn will be on June the 14th. Now, Saturn in Aquarius will be retrograde from May the 23rd till October the 11th. We also will have Jupiter in shadow during this time, moving into retrograde into Pisces by June the 20th. By this point, prior to the squaring aspect occurring with both Uranus and Taurus and Saturn and Aquarius, we would have had the annular solar eclipse, the new moon in Gemini at 19 degrees. And we also have Pluto in Capricorn retrograde between April the 27th and October the 6th at 24 degrees Capricorn. So, you know, with this phase during June the 14th, you can find again major themes to do with the eclipse can be cycling, and that's due to the fact that we have the North Node in Gemini, and this is a brand new moon, so it will be an ending and a new beginning. When it comes to Jupiter, the reflection state and the shadow cycle of that will be moving into effect. So we'll already be feeling that by this point, by the time we have Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aquarius. And on top of that, just to make things really, really nice, we would have already had Saturn retrograde. So it's the reflection time. It's the frustration of, okay, where hadn't we taken accountability when it relates to the Aquarius placement? Is it something financial? Is it something in a value system, spiritually? However it's playing out, I'll link it to you once I finish these three aspects. We will discuss, you know, how this is going to affect us all. Okay, now December 24th, we do have Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius. Now, there are major themes on this month occurring that will directly kind of impact this one zone. So we do need to look at those before we do look at Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius. Now, number one, Uranus and Taurus will still be retrograde, and that's until January 2022. It went retrograde August the 20th at 14 degrees Taurus until, as I mentioned, January 2022. We also, on the 4th of December, had a solar eclipse, new moon in Sagittarius. So it's an ending in one domain and a brand new beginning in another. The other area we need to be mindful of is that Aries and Chiron is stationary direct. It should still be in shadow. By this time, it went direct as of the 19th, but there still can be, you know, this lag and recuperation that we're trying to get. On top of that, we have the Sun in Capricorn. So yeah, really having to look at that accountability within our lives, utilizing that energy that we had at the beginning of the year and looking at things to do with our accountability, showing up. It can be government related dynamics, but the accountable energy and going back to that foundational level. Mars also is going to be in Sagittarius. So both with the eclipse and with Mars, it's really pushing towards those new Jupiter energies in a very unique way. Now, Aquarius is the polarity of the collective. It's the it's the person that understands, or energy rather, we should say. It's the collective energy that will be coming through, but it's the humanitarian. It's groups forming, it's the people, so to speak. So wherever it's falling in your chart, it's going to be deeply important. Now, Uranus and Taurus understands the requirements for the structures, but also is understanding the necessity for change when it does come to Uranus and Taurus. So we need a balance of both worlds, but there can be complications surrounding those energies. And as Uranus and Taurus goes direct, and it kind of matches because we'll have Venus retrograde in Capricorn, the Sun in Capricorn, putting your energy into that to make these things happen. Mars in Sagittarius, the solar eclipse that occurred, which was a new moon, and for the next 6 months we can have activations on that point, plus Uranus and Taurus squaring on the 24th. So do expect either side and pretty much the entirety of the month, you know, being prepared, looking at those placements, working on those areas, so that when it does come to the squaring aspects, you're in alignment. Now, sudden changes can happen with placements linking to Uranus and Taurus, and it can be instantly. Now, this can happen anytime either side of this month due to the fact that the energy of its squaring is occurring on the 24th, but because it's retrograde, any inklings you have, and I'll name the dates again, between August the 20th, be prepared. Start looking at those things that need changing. Yes, sudden changes may have happened around then. It can give you an idea as to what can be coming up right now, and start implementing them before that time. Really use those times in the retrograde effect to implement those changes of where those, tension points were in life, so that when it does come to that point, you're not going to have a very tense Christmas. Now, because we're having Aries and Chiron direct, yes, our wounds are relating to an area, but we can't allow our wounds to stand in our way. And it's beneficial that it's direct. We can have a little bit more energy moving out of our way, so to speak. That's why it's there for the 7 years, is to help us develop that. But looking at the key themes of both Taurus and Aquarius to get the best out of it, and trying to find the yin and yang. Now, Taurus collectively can relate to land, agriculture, beauty, our finances, food, resources, and Aquarius is the wider group energy of the people. Again, it can be institutions, it can be viewpoints, it can be value systems, helping one another, sometimes to the detriment of ourselves. So it's going to be this fine line, and even moving into the beginning of 2021, really adjusting to that. And the benefit will be that we'll have that pocket time to kind of ease into it, but it can feel a bit like it's thrown upon us. So bear in mind there can be tension points there. Any themes that come up around August, pay very close attention. Fine tune them, move them so that you're protected. I'd probably say if you want to store, get your Christmas presents in order well and truly before the end of the year. Start, paying for those things little by little so that it's not going to agitate the apple cart. That can be wherever, again, which I will talk about for your zodiac signs during the year and inside this video separately, where we can discuss what can be coming up for you. Okay, Capricorn, now the first transit occurs on February the 17th. Now you do need to pay attention to Aquarius in your second house. Now there can be some reflection on this area due to the fact that we will have Mercury going to shadow by mid-January through to February 21st. Now, what do I need to tell you about this? Number one, Taurus will link to your creative projects, your luxuries, your pastime. Now, the second house can be where you receive your income from and where you're sharing your income from as well, because Aquarius is wider group energy. So when it does come to hunch energies, it's not the best time to actually launch anything by mid-January. Also, what you can find is tension points linking in February to both the second and the fifth house placement. You may be deciding that your work potentially does not resonate with you for some of you. You may be looking at the aspect of your net worth. It could be your experience, the people that you can communicate with. Aquarius is going to benefit that though. So although you might be reflecting upon these things, allow the Mercury retrograde to assist you, because still we may feel a little bit delusional initially with the second house placement. It can be self-esteem, feeling like the black sheep, like I mentioned. Anywhere that your second house placement comes up, you may find that the responsibilities do stress you, because we can have nervous related dynamics coming into the beginning of January, especially because we had Uranus and Taurus going shadow direct and direct by the 14th. So between these times and moving into February the 17th, when we have Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aquarius, these two placements can cause some tension. This can be your luxuries, romance, children, your luck, your income, your self-esteem, your professional resources. There can be some sense of difficulty, but what you will find is a solution shall come, and it can be slight glimpses of it by the 14th. But it can be a circumstance that played out around the 14th, and by February you're trying to work out what to do. Now that squaring aspect, you will find solutions will come about. Initially you won't see them, but I do believe as Mercury goes direct in Aquarius, you will find that your thoughts and your speech will be a lot healthier. It's very Gemini orientated energy, but pay attention to your health, because stress levels linking to your work. It can also be where you are assessing whether you want to, as I mentioned, be at this location. Make sure you try and get some rest prior to moving into mid-year, because this can be a very busy year. But you will find, again, these creative projects all launching. Wait till after February and you'll find some success, and try and have faith in yourself. Okay, June the 17th is the secondary squaring aspect that Uranus makes to Taurus. Saturn in Aquarius is retrograde at this time until October. So difficulties or reflections will come from the second house placement. And this can be creative ways of how you're generating an income. Unique ways, building businesses, tapping into group activities, working together with other people and looking at what other people are doing and implementing some of those things. But it is very conducive with the bigger picture. So whatever that is, there can be changes happening at your workplace and, you know, stress levels, but a lot of intuition happening at that time, because we have Saturn in Aquarius retrograde until October the 11th. Now Jupiter also is in shadow cycle, ready to move into Pisces. For you, Pisces links to, where am I? Your 12th house, your psychology. If you feel you've been running in the rat race, by the time we reach June the 20th, you can have a little bird's eye view into 2022. Now, anything to do with your creative projects, your belief systems, you know, these things can come up, and it's probably a very good time to do some guided meditation, both with your 6th house placement. Pay attention to your health. Make sure that your emotions, you know, you're not overburdening yourself with responsibilities. Potentially, some people can be, you know, looking after children, land-related dynamics, family-related dynamics can be coming up. So with these themes, we also did have the eclipse in Gemini. So again, your health house. It can also be, because it is a new moon, if you've worked incredibly hard and you've kept that line of communication open and you've been networking, you can find that at this time you can have a brand new chapter, and this can be brand new opportunities. We also have Pluto in Capricorn retrograde, and that will be through till October the 24th. So anything you're needing to fine tune and shift about, this will give you an opportunity to do such. So you do have quite a bit going on in the month of June. Frustration, reflection upon responsibilities when it does come to the bigger picture. Even moving beyond 2021 into 22, a little bit of a bird eye view into Pisces, your belief systems, your hopes and dreams, what's been hidden from you, as well as where you're potentially being stuck, and your health, trying to find healthier ways to deal with things, getting your routine in order, and fine-tuning and ditching anything that doesn't work with Pluto in Capricorn. Now December's going to be a doozy, pre-warned, forearmed. Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn. Okay, number one, Uranus and Taurus is retrograde until January 2022. We also would have had the solar eclipse, new moon in Sagittarius. Unique that almost every squaring aspect has an eclipse occurring. So on this occasion, it's a new moon in Sagittarius, which is the south node. We also have Venus retrograde in Capricorn, which links to your 1st house. You can be looking at yourself inside of these scenarios. How am I showing up at work? How am I showing up inside my connections, my friendship groups, with my children, any partnerships, any interconnection we have, the utilization of luxuries. It can be, again, food, pacifiers, things that we probably shouldn't do. You know, what are we doing in that situation? Reflecting upon it with the 1st house placement can give you some benefits. Again, I will mention you can meet people from the past during this time. The tension point may come through with children, self-esteem. It can also be finances, where money's coming from. Some people can think, hey, is this person here for me, or are they here for this? You know, there can be complications. But fifth house can be your romance, it can be children, it can be co-creative energy. It's able to sit back and enjoy the luxuries. And Taurus very much is linked to Venus, so it does make sense. Now, Aquarius is hitting your second house placement. This is your professional resources, possessions, land, your ability to follow through, your skills and alliances, your self-confidence and self-esteem. And it can be, again, when we're deeply emotional, the things we eat to calm our nerves. So it can also link to health. And you do have Gemini in the North Node, which is asking you to create those balances, create those healthy boundaries with individuals. Make sure you're, stepping forward, getting enough rest to do that work. And any health related dynamics can come up around that, but it is going to be transforming over the next year. If you are needing to make a major decision, I would highly recommend waiting till 1 to 2 weeks into January 2022. It is because both Uranus and Taurus will go direct in 2022, as well as Venus. So food for thought. Pay attention to both the second and the fifth house placement. Try and be patient with it. We have Aries and Chiron direct from the 19th, so we should be able to handle some of these things. Sit with the energy, see how it flows, and transform it as we move forward. Now, I'm only going to briefly touch on Pluto in Capricorn because it is sort of counteracted by Saturn and Jupiter, so it will ease up. We have had a lot of heavy placements. Now, January can be a large point of this, and December, because we have a lot of placements there. Plus, when the retrograde effects happens, I check in with you month by month, and I do give you the daily updates. Now, the direct cycle will be from January the 1st at 24 degrees Capricorn, and we're having a Mercury retrograde shadow period by mid-month, so that can be anything Aquarian related, what we need to tie up, miscommunication crosswise, but anything relating to those loose ends, get paperwork done in the first 2 weeks, and you pretty much got through till April 27th. Now, by April, anything relating to that Capricorn placement, there can be reflection upon those things, refinement, and that will be from April the 27th at 26 degrees. The higher in the degree point it gets, the more critical the aspect. We're doing 24, and 0. There's certain critical degree points that can be pretty harsh. So retrograde as of April the 27th through to October the 6th at 24 degrees Capricorn. Then from October the 6th through to January 1st, it will be direct, and it goes retrograde again, 2022. Okay, Capricorn. Now, the area that Pluto will be affecting, surprise, surprise, is first house placement. Now, the time frames this can come up is between the beginning of the month, January, because we do have quite heavy Capricorn placements occurring at that point, as well as towards April, and then towards the end of the year when we will have Venus in Capricorn in retrograde by the 19th. So those are the key areas. Month by month, we will look at that, but it can be very much you transforming. What do you need to let go of? And again, when it comes to endings, sometimes it can be us holding on to a way of being and not allowing that transformation to come, but it will be very first house placement. So first house can be self, it can be the way you're showing up in the world, the way you're presenting yourself. That can all be transforming this year. Now, the beauty is we have both Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius now, which is your second house, so development can happen in those domains, but it's what you would need to do to shift that about. Okay, let's have a look at Neptune and Pisces. Two things to mention before I get into the dates of the directs and the retrogrades is I will mention the astrology during the month, how these things are playing out for you week by week, as well as Jupiter is going to be transiting mid-year into Pisces. So this will be a double whammy for Neptune and Pisces. We're also going to have, let me have a look at the charts for Mars. Okay, more towards October and December, there can be these themes coming up, but let's have a look at the dates. Now, on January the 1st, we will have Neptune direct until June the 25th at 23 degrees Pisces. Its retrograde date is June the 25th till the 1st of December. So there can be deep reflection in this area, which again, I do remember we do have Neptune, not Neptune, Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aquarius around that time. So it'll be retrograde till then, going stationary direct. And again, it can be sometimes quite slow moving. So any of those areas that maybe you haven't launched, transform, change, or the house that it's linking to, which I'll talk about shortly, there can be tension points there. Now, it will be pretty much direct from the beginning of December through till the end of this year into 2022. And it'll be at 20 degrees Pisces. Let's have a look at the placements. Okay, Capricorn. Now, the placement for Neptune in Pisces, as well as when Jupiter retrogrades into Pisces mid-year, this will be themes of both now and 2022. So pay attention to the trends linking to that. Your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, your psychic downloads. It can be health as well. Again, with this, it's your third house placement. So anything relating to movement, technology, upgrading those things, any of your hopes and dreams, when it does come to both thinking, articulating and working in that domain, these themes can be coming up during Neptune in Pisces transits. So anything third house related. Now, this can be to do with waiting for documentation, very much linking to your hopes, dreams and aspirations. It can be working in spiritual platforms. Very separately, it can be your communication, the way you're showing up, your co-creative energy, short journeys. But during the retrograde and the direct, it can be that, if you're wanting to upgrade certain things like cars and things to that degree, what you'll find is mid-year, those situations can come up, as well as your second house of finances. It's like, okay, to get those things, what would you need to do? Or to move that energy with the second house placement of Aquarius, what would you need to do? So paying attention to those transits. Follow me week by week for your updates, how different placements can affect your zodiac sign, as well as if you do want to book in, you can go directly to the link below. But there can be subjects to do with movement, location, communication, upgrading devices and things to that degree. Okay, let's have a look at Mercury retrograde. Now, Mercury is going retrograde 3 times this year. And some of these subjects we need to look at because they're going to highlight different places of our chart. It will be direct from the 1st of January until mid-month. Now, we're going to get that shadow cycle and it's going to be in the house of Aquarius. Now, this is going retrograde as of the 30th, but mid-month you can feel some of those shadow aspects. So it will be pretty much from January the 30th at 26 degrees Aquarius, retrograde until February the 21st at 11 degrees. Now, that's most of February. So if there's anything paperwork related or wherever that falls in your house, pay attention to that retrograde cycle and it can cause some frustration. Now, from there, it will be direct from February the 21st, 11 degrees Aquarius, until May the 29th at 24 degrees Gemini. Now, a lot of subjects relating to Gemini will come up during the next retrograde cycle, and that is between May the 29th, 24 degrees Gemini. Remember, we've got the North Node in Gemini, until September the 27th, 25 degrees Libra. Okay, from that point we have the direct motion, and that will be from October the 18th, 10 degrees Libra, until January 2022, 28 degrees Capricorn. So a lot more Capricorn themes coming up in January 2022. So what themes can be coming up? Now, the first retrograde is Aquarius energy. Pay attention to that cycle between January and February. The next retrograde is between May and June, and it's in the house of Gemini. The third one is between September and October, and it's in the house of Libra. So again, I will talk about this for your zodiac sign Food for thought, remember these dates. Okay, Capricorn. Now, the first Mercury retrograde is in Aquarius, and I mentioned the dates. It does link to your second house placement. This can be your net worth, it can be finances, it can be land, material value. There can be subjects to do with that in deep reflection. It is linked to Aquarius. Rest assured, we do have both Saturn and Jupiter there to rectify any situation, but during these times, subjects relating to that may be delayed. So, pre-warned, forearmed. You can feel that mid-January all the way through till about the 21st of February and maybe a few days after. So be prepared for that. The second stage, which is going to be on May the 29th, we have Mercury retrograde in Gemini, which connects to your sixth house placement. Now, this is a time when your nerves can be tested due to the fact that it is the sixth house placement. Now, this can be the house of hidden enemies. There can be reflection upon these areas, your work environment, habits and routine, and your health. It's a great time. We could say it's a great time to get a check, but generally during a Mercury retrograde, a check, yes, but delayed information, crosswise. If that's been a theme that has been coming up for a while, get it checked ahead of time, but there can be reflection. Okay, I want to change my diet. I need to get fit. There can be subjects relating to this. Also, it can be where you're reflecting upon, this can be bullying, lack of healthy boundaries. There can be subjects also to do with pets and things to that degree. That will be, again, a point that potentially can come up, but diet-related things also. Now, the last Mercury retrograde for the year is in the house of Libra, and this connects to your 10th house. So make sure you check the emails. If you're applying for jobs, try and do it before Mercury goes retrograde in Libra. There can be tension points for that. There can be delays, trying to keep the balance with everything. You will find during those transits, things speed up and things to do with those subjects come at you to cause such. So it can be a strength building energy and exercise to endure, but you can actually find problems, missing information. Some things can go MIA. It's a bit like when you're trying to look for something, you find the opposite thing. So move through it. If you're needing help, link below. Otherwise, I will be with you month by month for these transits in depth. Okay, Capricorn, let's discuss Mars. Now, number one, Mars is moving out of Aries, and some of us will be very happy to hear that, but we do have it transiting different houses, so it does mean different subjects, different tension points, different energies can come from these Mars placements. Now, from the 6th of January 2021, we are moving out of the energy of Aries and into Taurus. So Mars will be transiting your 5th house placement pretty much from mid-January through till March 23rd. High subjects relating to 5th house placement, creative projects, can be where you overindulge. It can be children, launching things. Try and wait till after Mercury retrograde with these transits. You tend to get the best out of them, especially with Mars. It's asking us to focus on these areas, but it also can be more difficult during retrogrades. Mars is not going to be retrograde this year. We will be happy to know after last year, but we will have it transiting your 5th house. Now, that will be through to March the 3rd. March the 3rd, it then transits into Gemini, your 6th house placement, and it will stay there till April the 23rd. So big decisions relating to, okay, how do I level up at work? What do I need to do? Am I putting my best foot forward? Where is my health at? Can I trust these people? Am I creating healthy boundaries? From April 23rd to June 11th, subjects relating to marriages, contracts, partnerships. Now, it kind of makes sense because if Mars had asked you to focus on that, which is technically the North Node, Gemini, transiting into Cancer is going to give you an opportunity to assess, network, move towards better. If it's not Mercury retrograde, pay attention to those transits and stay tuned month by month for the updates. But a lot of subjects will be poured into your interconnections until June the 11th. Now, on June the 11th, it transits into Leo. And this can be potentially, for some of you, using those resources together, building that intimacy, going deep, diving deep, connecting, committing. It can even be where you're attaining those goals. This can be births, deaths, legacies, taxation. It can be focusing on those areas if there's paperwork, tying up loose ends, as well as very separately in your intimate connections, moving deeper into that, paying energy to that. Now, from July the 29th through to September the 14th, we have a transiting Virgo. This can be a lot of focus on higher education. And again, mid-year, we're having Pluto, we're having Pluto. We're having Jupiter retrograde into Pisces, which can be a very similar theme going on. And it will show us pocket windows of what 2022 is going to be like. So pay attention to that cycle. During the time we are having it transit your 9th house placement, which is from July 29th through to September 14th, education, upskilling, foreign countries, travel, your belief systems, taking a connection to the next level, focusing on those areas and pouring energy can come up with that. You can also have tension points with that too, so be careful. This can be, differing views, connecting to that, but if you're needing to market, you're needing to advertise, and you're using media, it can be really utilizing those platforms in that way. Devil in the detail, Virgo. Okay, then from September 14th through to October the 30th, we have it transiting your 10th house, and this can be really putting a lot of energy into your career, balancing those things out, dealing with any tedious tasks, as well as applying for jobs if you're unemployed. Anything you're working on, putting your energy into it with that Mars. From October the 30th, we have it going through Scorpio, and this is your 11th house placement. Friends, clubs, associates, aspirations, hopes, dreams. Checking in with that, assessing it, and partaking in it. That will last until December the 13th. Now, from December the 13th through to January 2022, it will be transiting Sagittarius, and this can be your psychology. Again, a very spiritual time, providing you're utilizing it as such. If you need coaching, drop me a message. Also, very separately, it can be things that are hidden from you, tapping into that psyche, what you've got to let go of because it's South Node. But it's really getting down to the grit with it. This can be subjects relating to siblings. It can be long distance travel because it's Sagittarius, but at the same time, it's your belief systems and, taking some time. You can have a mind that's very busy, and it may be subjects that need to be dealt with. Now, moving into 2022, it's going to be transiting Capricorn, where that will be your first house placement. Last points, Venus retrograde. Now, that is occurring December the 19th until January the 1st. The other point I do want to mention is Chiron and Aries. Now, that retrograde is occurring from July the 15th at 12 degrees Aries until December the 19th, 8 degrees Aries. So pay attention to those times. You can feel a little bit fatigued during that time and irritable, linking to the 8th house. But because we have Mars transiting other signs, subjects relating to Sagittarius will come up towards December due to the fact we have the eclipse. Okay, as for your eclipse dates, we have the eclipse in May the 26th, a total lunar eclipse, which is a full moon in Sagittarius at 5 degrees. We then have an eclipse in June 10th, which is an annular solar eclipse, new moon in Gemini at 19 degrees. And then November the 19th, it's a partial lunar eclipse, full moon in Taurus at 27 degrees. And then finally, in December, on the 4th, we have a total solar eclipse, which is a new moon in Sagittarius at 12 degrees. Again, I will follow these live for all your up-to-date information and energy relating to the astrology. So if you have listened through this far, thank you very much. Take care, beautifuls. I'll see you soon. Again, if you do want a booking, the link is below. I'll see you during all the super chats and the live updates during the month, and we'll check in at the next stop to see how your zodiac sign's going. Love and light, guys. See you soon.